Hello learners, in this lecture we will see what is mineral admixtures. So far our discussion was limited to the chemical admixtures and we understood what is accelerator, we understood what is retarder, what is plasticizer, super plasticizer, and finally we saw what is air entraining agents. Now coming to the mineral admixtures, we'll try to see them. Yeah. So when mineral admixtures are added in the concrete mix, they're added in the concrete mix to improve the properties in the green stage. Green stage means when it is in a fresh, we call it as a green stage. And hardened stage is that once your concrete gets hard, once your concrete gets set and it starts to gain the strength, we call that as a hardened. We say that that is a hardening stage. So makes mixture more economical, reduce the permeability, it increases the strength and influences other concrete properties. So these are also called as your mineral admixtures are also called as supplementary cementing materials. In the short form, you can write it as SCM, right? So mineral admixtures affect the nature of the hardened concrete through the hydraulic or the pozzolanic activity. We already seen that how the fly ash, the GGBS is going to help you, right? So because of the pozzolanic activity, they are going to show their property. Commonly used mineral admixtures in the concrete is the pozzolana. So we know that pozzolana is a siliceous or it's a siliceous and a aluminous material possessing little or no cementitious property. But when you try to mix them with the help of a cement, it's going to show its property, that is a pozzolanic action. It's going to show. Yeah. Now, how they are classified now. So coming to the classification, we have pozzolana. So under the pozzolana, again they are classified as natural pozzolana and artificial. Okay, let me make this as art. Yeah, this is L. Okay, this is artificial. Yeah, artificial pozzolana. So under the natural pozzolana, like we have clay, shale. Then how do you pronounce this? Yeah, diatomaceous earth, volcanic tuffs, and you have opaline. I don't know how to pronounce this. We'll say opaline chats, right? Yeah, CHERTS. Yeah. So these are the natural pozzolana what we have, what we get in the nature. Now coming to the artificial pozzolana, these are the artificial pozzolana that we have. See, we don't want this to happen, but during the manufacturing of the during the manufacturing of a coal we get fly ash, during the manufacturing of a steel we get GGBS, and silica during the manufacturing of a uh, s- uh, silica we try to get silica fume. Then metakaolin and rice cash during the what is that, rice, that is a paddy, right? During that paddy, the waste of that paddy what you get, that is called as rice or cash. So these are artificially, we don't want that, but by nature they are going to come, but they have that pozzolanic action in that, hence we classify them as a artificial pozzolana. So our concentration will be only on this artificial pozzolana, and we'll try to understand them one by one, right? Yeah. So to begin with, we know what is fly ash, but still quickly we'll try to go through that. It is a byproduct of a thermal power station, that is during the coal manufacturing. Commercially available fly ash is finely divided residue that results from the combustion of the pulverized coal and is carried from the combustion chamber of the furnace by the exhaust gases. So in the UK, in the United Kingdom, it is referred as pulverized fuel ash. So you can call it as PFA. So fly ash is a byproduct obtained from the combustion of a coal in the thermal power plant. And nearly 73% of India's electrical generation is through coal burning and thermal power stations. And only about 10% of fly ash is being utilized in the various industries, and remaining amount gets dumped in the landfills. And we have seen that since even now government is making it mandatory to make use of the fly ash in the cement, hence we are getting the PPC cement in the market, right? So if you don't dump that, we have seen what is the consequences, it will create a health problem and all, right? Again, we'll not try to get into that. Yeah. Then if we use this fly ash as an ingredient in the concrete, then the environment pollution is also controlled, and also the properties of a concrete is modified, right? Yeah. Now how it looks and all, we try to see that it consists mainly of a spherical glassy particles ranging from 1 to 150 micron in the diameter, of which bulk passes through a 75 micron tube. See, again all these things, it is, we cannot see that with the help of a electronic microscope and all, no, we can try to see the particles, and we can try to study about them, but as of now we'll not try to get into so much details, but overall VB is enough for us. Fly ash is mostly used pozzolanic material all over the world due to its nature to obtain the high strength concrete and also the high performance concrete. Now coming to the uses of fly ash in the concrete, has a mineral admixture, obviously we can use it. It is used as a part replacement of a fine aggregate, right? So instead of adding more and more fine aggregate, what we can try to do, we can little reduce the fine aggregate, and in that place we can try to add fly ash there, because even fly ash is also more finer than the fine aggregate. It reduces the heat of hydration, obviously, because you're going to reduce the cement content. If the cement content is coming down, then heat of hydration also is going to come down. It reduces the permeability of the concrete, because this fly ash are very fine in nature. So whatever voids we have, that will be filled by the fly ash. So since the voids get filled by the fly ash, will not be having any voids there, and if there is no voids, there is no cracks and all, and hence the permeability is going to come down, right? That means it will not allow the water to pass through that. It improves the resistance of the sulfate attack, obviously, because if you don't use fly ash and all, we had seen through a equation that what will happen, calcium hydroxide is going to form. It's a byproduct, right? When C3s and C2s react with the water, calcium hydroxide is going to form. So this calcium hydroxide, further it will react with uh, sulfate. Yeah, it will react with sulfate, and what will happen, sulfate attack is going to happen, right? So we wanted this calcium hydroxide to be utilized. So when you try to add fly ash, this fly ash is a pozzolana, it will try to react with the calcium hydroxide, and as a result of that, what will happen, CSH gel is formed, right? We had seen that CSH gel is formed. So this calcium hydroxide is, since it is utilized by the fly ash, so the chances of sulfate attack is also less. Yeah. So these are the few uses of fly ash in the concrete. Now, effect of fly ash on the concrete or the fresh or the hardened shade. So I won't be going through this completely. Again, it's a self-explanatory, but few things we'll try to see them. So on the fresh property, right, what is going to happen? The setting time is increased when the fly ash is used. A 30% substitution of fly ash may result in the increase of an initial setting time up to 2 hours. See, whatever points they have written it here, no, all this have been written through research and all, right? So only the thing is we just have to go through the point. Other than that, we cannot do anything else, because based on lot of researches, lot of journal papers, and people have done lot of research, and finally they have done the experiments and all, and based on that, these things have been added here. Yeah. Second is the workability and the flow of a concrete are increased due to the spherical shape of a fly ash particles, which lends a ball bearing type effect on the concrete mixture. And then also the bleeding and segregation is going to come down due to well proportioned fly ash concrete. And next is fly ash reduces the heat of hydration in the concrete. A substitution of 30% fly ash may result in the reduction of 50 to 60% of the heat of hydration, right? And then coming to the hardened state, what is going to happen, the strength gain of fly ash concrete is slower when compared to the normal concrete. However, the ultimate strength usually improve when the fly ash is used. That is, we already seen when we try to add pozzolana like fly ash, GGBS and all, the initial rate of gain of strength is going to come down, but the ultimate strength is going to remain the same thing. The same point has been added here. Then we have creep and shrinkage. These are the long term effect, creep and all. So even that is also improved by using the fly ash. And then, yeah, this also we have seen that fly ash slightly improves the resistance of the concrete to the sulfate attack, right? So these are the points if you can try to write when they ask what is the effect of fly ash on the fresh properties and what is the effect of fly ash on the hardened properties. Yeah. Yeah. Now coming to the a bit history of a fly ash. Fly ash was first used in the construction of Hungry Horse Dam in America in the approximate amount of 30% by the weight of the cement. In India, fly ash was first used for the first time in the construction of Rihand irrigation project in Uttar Pradesh in the year 1962 by replacing a cement up to 15%. So this is that Hungry Horse Dam in America, where the fly ash was used in the construction of this particular dam. About 30% by the weight of a cement, the fly ash was utilized here. And coming to the India, so this is that Rihand irrigation project what we have in Uttar Pradesh. So this is a dam what we have, and here also the fly ash was used in the construction of this dam. Up to 15% the fly ash was used. So even from 90s we have been using all like 1960s, 1970s we have been using the fly ash. But has now what has happened? A lot of research and all have been done. So as a result of that, and we are trying to you know. Yeah, we are trying to use it in a more better way, and in most of the projects we try to make use of the fly ash nowadays. And even nowadays more and more coal industries and all are setting up, so as a result of that the production of the fly ash is also more. Yeah. So other than that, people have started to make business out of this. So if you see this, usually what we see is that we have seen the red bricks, right? Along with the red bricks, now people have started manufacturing the fly ash bricks. So these are the fly ash bricks. Since fly ash is available and you get it at the cheaper rate, so what you can do, you can prepare a fly ash bricks here, right? These are the fly ash bricks what you get in the market. And the rate is also like the normal brick. If you take to, if you go to purchase a normal brick, that is a red bricks what you have seen, that will cost you around, let us say, 7 to 10 rupees. It depends on the size and quality of that, but the normal rate is 7 to 10 rupees in the market. But if you go to purchase the fly ash bricks, you are going to get it in between 4 to 6, or let us say 7 rupees, right? So people have started making business out of this. A lot of industries have come up where people are using the fly ash bricks. Yeah. So these are the advantages of using the fly ash. So you can see here, all these have been made with the help of a fly ash bricks. A lot of constructions are going on, and most of the companies are also making it, mandatory sometimes to make use of the fly ash bricks. So even the government is also emphasizing on all these things to make use of the fly ash. So more and more, we are trying to make environment more and more better with the help of a fly ash. Yeah. Yeah. So I hope this basic understanding is clear about the fly ash. What is fly ash? Where the fly ash first used, and how you can make use of fly ash. How you can even set up a business with the help of a fly ash. Right? There are a lot of things you can do with the help of a fly ash. Yeah. So in the next lecture, we'll try to see the importance of GGBS and the other things. So we'll see you back in the next lecture. Thank you.